Hey there, my friends, welcome back. And as always, it is an honor that you're sharing the next 5 to 10 minutes with me. And my commitment is to bring you some sort of value, an idea, a technique, something that's going to have you leave this conversation in one way or another, improving the quality of your life. Now, today is a very important conversation, and it's one that really just encompasses everything we've gone over the past couple of weeks. Because remember, we've been talking around what makes the human existence up. What makes us up? And we started to look at three different things. We started to look at the mind, we started to look at the body, and now we're going to talk about the spirit. Now in the mind, we started to look at how is the things that we focus, how does that make a difference in the way in which life occurs? How is the way that we're focusing on ourselves and our problems, how does that affect the way in which we occur in life? We started to look, is that thing that's happening in front of me really what's happening in front of me, or am I making up a meaning to that thing? Am I believing something that isn't in fact there? We started to look at the consciousness that it takes for you to really be present in life, all around this supercomputer called our mind. We then dove into the body, and we looked at the body in a different perspective than normal. We looked at it from three different levels. We looked at it from corporal, this physical vehicle that we literally are walking life through. We looked at it from an astral perspective, life energy, life force, what drives this human, the energy that moves within us, what is that? And then we looked at it through a conscious body. So simple enough, the ideas, the thought patterns, the ideations that you have for yourself. These three things making up the whole human experience as we know it. So now let's dive into spirit. And as always, look, what I share is not the truth. I'm not asking you to believe it as your truth, by no means. That's the beauty of the human species. We're all the same in the fact that we are all so different. So please, for your own life, make up your own choices as to what you're going to believe in and stick to those things and share those beliefs with others, so then you can unconsciously give the permission for them to do the same exact thing for themselves. You can read, quotation marks, be you, so other people can be them, and then we can share the experience together. In the conversation today with spirit, let's talk about what is spirit. Now, it's a huge conversation. It's all over the world. Spirit is literally one of the things that has created one of the biggest industries globally. It's so big that in fact it runs the world. I'll let you sit with that, because in spirit, this is where we start to dive into a conversation where people try to sway people to believe one thing or the other. As I mentioned before, not the case. That's not what I want to do. My belief is, if your faith teaches separation, then it's not faith. And again, that's just my belief, not yours. That's just what I think is my faith. That's what I know is my faith. In spirit, we start to look, what is spirit? Now, again, it's conceptual and it's very ethereal. Spirit makes everything up. Simple. The fact that I'm able to breathe, and there's this thing called oxygen that feeds my body's cells so I can have life, that is spirit. The fact that I can cook food and I can eat food that fills my body with fuel, that's spirit. The fact that I can meet a human being and have a conversation with them and connect with them and share experiences with them, share laughs, share cries, create new ones, that's spirit. In spirit, we are created by spirit. And again, it's conceptual, it is very heady, but in spirit, we are able to be here right now. We look around. I mean, you hear the birds chirping. That is spirit in action. We see the nature around us. We're already seeing it today. We are literally at this point in time not able to operate the way that we normally do. And because of that, we now see nature all across the world thriving. That's spirit. Now, what I just said, it goes into a big conversation, because if we're both spirit, then how is one destroying the other? But that right there is something for you to discover. How, if we are both the same thing, and by we, I mean me as a human, the Mother Nature as a thing, how are we destroying each other if we're the same thing? Sit with that, because it's not for this conversation. This is for you to start to look for yourself. What does spirit mean to you? When it comes to a spiritual conversation, when you have a spiritual experience, what does that mean to you? And it doesn't have to be this existential experience, one in which completely shifts your life. However, when you have an experience, however, when you have a spiritual experience, it will more than likely do exactly that. It will more than likely shift the way in which you perceive. It will more than likely shift the way in which you see the people and things and life around you. Now, it's been shown all across the spectrum if we can really get present with ourselves. And this is where it's so important to start to look at the mind, the body, and the spirit as a whole that makes us up. When we can start to look at that as a complete holistic thing, we can start to look at how one affects the other. So look, it's very simple. If you are consistently buying into ideas of fear, ideas of hatred, ideas of disconnection, ideas of separation, then guess what? Your body's going to react like that. So then we have the conscious body directly connected with the astral body, directly connected to the corporal body, directly connected to the way in which you are in the world, in the spiritual, this right here, right now. Look, it's not this another, it's not a different dimension. You are in the spiritual dimension right now. The fact that you as a human being have a heart that beats without you thinking anything about it, and the fact that that same thing that you can't control feels these emotions for people that you love, and it doesn't matter if they're dead or alive. No, time doesn't matter. You can think back to your great-grandmother maybe. No, think of someone you love greatly that may be passed. Does the love fade? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That right there, we start to see what is this experience of the human experience. If time doesn't separate or doesn't diminish the way in which we love someone, then what is time? But again, let's just dive back down to right here, right now. This is the spiritual realm. We are living in the spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings living a physical experience. And if we can really get present to that, we can start to look, okay, so if I'm a spiritual being living in a physical experience, how can I get in touch with my spirit? Ding, ding, ding. That right there is the question of the century. How can you get in touch with your spirit? Because when you get in touch with your spirit, that right there, you start to get inspired. That's how we have people that are consistently creating beautiful things for themselves, because they're being inspired by something. They're being driven by something, and that's when spirit is in full motion. That's when spirit is in full action. That's when spirit is right here in front of you, when you are inspired by something. So I ask you today, start to question yourself. What are the things that inspire me? What are the things that move me forward? What are the things that I truly love about myself and life? What are things that if money were not an issue, time were not an issue, if there were no limitations present, what would I love to do? Look, this is why the human species was created, to live that kind of experience, to be driven by something, to be driven by an experience of inspiration, of life, of spirit. And it's very simple. Go into yourself. That's why you have all the sages from India. You have all the monks in any sort of monastery. They go within. They take the distractions that are out here and they shut them out. I invite you to try that out. Maybe for a couple minutes a day. 10 minutes a day. How hard could that be? Especially now with what we're going through. Take 10 minutes a day. Sit within your own thoughts and experience what that's like. Get present to your breath. Literally feel the breath going in through your nostril, going through your throat, through your diaphragm, all the way through your stomach. Fill up your stomach and push it back in and exhale. Feel that. What is that like? You start to feel your body, your sensations, things that before you didn't experience. And this is when we start to experience the spiritual life as the human life, because they are both the same. We are both connected. It's biblical, it's in the sacred texts. The kingdom of God is within. So why are we so focused on the outside? We don't need to be focused on the outside. We can look, I'm the first person to say have goals for yourself. Have an idea where you want to go. Without that idea, you're not going to go anywhere, that's for sure. So have an idea. The thing is, don't be attached to that thing. Don't let your joy and the way in which you live your life be directed by that thing. That's just an external thing. You, as a human being, the spirit within, that is the human. That is the spirit. That is why you and I are here. So we can be driven by that thing. Sit with yourself. Get present with yourself. What drives you? And there is no better time now. The world is at an interrupt. We have been stopped. We have been paused. This, you can take, is spirit telling us to relax, to sit down, and to really be aware of what we want. It is your time to do just that. Take your time, relax, be present with yourself, and realize and start to see for yourself, what does it mean to you to be inspired? What does it mean when life has breath breathed into it for you? Powerful conversation. If you find value in this, then it brings you some sort of energy, some sort of inspiration, share it with others. And I ask you, actually practice something for yourself, whether that is literally full-on meditation, 10 minutes a day, eyes closed, or whether that's go for a walk and get present with nature, or whether that's ride a bike and really get present with riding the bike and feel the emotions that you felt when you were a little kid. That's literally what I just felt, is I just smiled. Because it's that moment-to-moment choice, and that's what makes the difference for us right now more than ever. Thank you for joining me, and I will be seeing you next week. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.